one of the preludes to August 12, 1952, was the fact that in World War II, Stalin had authorized the formation of a Jewish organization called the Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee. And it was supposed to be a propaganda organization where prominent Soviet Jews like Itzik Pfeffer, the poet, Mikhails, the great actor, Peretz Markish, Solomon Lazovsky, who'd worked in the Soviet Foreign Office, would broadcast appeals in Yiddish, mobilize Jews in American Britain to agitate on behalf of Soviet aims, such as the opening of a second front, spreading Soviet propaganda, and so on. So the Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee was simply meant to be a propaganda organ, but it turned into an address for Soviet Jews who were in despair, Soviet Jews who had heard that their loved ones had been killed, Soviet Jews who were pained to see that anti-Semitism was reviving during the war, stories that Jews had shirked their duty, that Jews had been cowards. And then, of course, when Jews were coming back in 1944 to liberated areas and seeing that nobody was left, that their apartments, if they existed, were occupied by new people, that local communist organizations in Belarus and the Ukraine were doing nothing to reach out to Jewish victims. And in this cry of pain was directed to only a few addresses. One address was Ilya Ehrenberg, Stalin's court Jew, but the other was the Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee, where, by the way, Ehrenberg was also a member. In response to these cries of pain, the Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee developed, as it were, a Yiddish heart, a Jewish heart, and wrote a memo to Stalin in 1944, suggesting to Stalin that since the Crimea was now liberated from the Germans, and since many of the Crimean Tatars had been deported by Stalin for alleged collaboration with the Germans, that the Crimea might not be turned into a place where Jews could settle. And the Crimea would be much more attractive than Birobidzhan, for obvious reasons, nice beaches, and so on. Stalin received this letter. He didn't comment. He filed it away in his memory. And then in 1947 and 1948, he began to use this as part of a wider choreography of plots, conspiracies, where the Jews worked together with the CIA, with the United States, in order to establish a bridgehead in the Soviet Union to overthrow the Soviet government. The Jews were now seen as a disloyal element. When Golda Meir comes to the Soviet Union as the first Israeli ambassador, and 40,000 Jews surround her on the Jewish New Year of Rosh Hashanah, Stalin becomes even more paranoid. He's already ordered the murder of Mikhails in Minsk, disguised as a traffic accident. This occurs in January 1948. So this decision to destroy the Jewish leadership, and on the one hand, was aimed at the Jews themselves, but on the other hand, it was going to be folded into a, into a much wider series of plots and conspiracies.